Hey dude, this is Jaden Storm coming at your team Shadow Strike. In this video, it's going to be me talking about a topic of what, in my opinion, one of the top 5 underdog decks there are out there at the moment. But before I get into that, just have a couple of things I want to talk about. First off, guys, if you notice, I took the day off from work today. I just woke up this morning and I felt a little bit under the weather. I mean, I haven't gotten sick. I'm not running a fever or anything like that. But I just didn't feel right, so I decided to stay home, and I took a little bit of a nap in my chair here, and it was well needed. And I've also been kind of sore. My knee's been giving me some trouble, you know, I decided I'd make some videos for you guys because it always seems to help me when I do videos for you guys. So, one quick announcement. It is now May 1st, which means we're on a countdown to Team League. May 22nd. Which is a Friday, is the day that me and my team will be leaving. You know, some of you might be asking if I'll be doing any box openings of Set 2, Gale of Blossom, or whatever, something like that. But I actually do have an exciting announcement. Me and my teammates, the night before the tournament, we will be opening a case, which is 16 boxes, and we are going to be recording it, and so you guys can check it out. So that is something for you guys to look forward to. We will be opening a case of Set 2. It'll be the first case I've ever opened, and that's 16 boxes, 30 packs a box. That's going to be a lot of packs. So you guys have that to look forward to. So let's get into this top 5 decks. Now, the meta right now is extremely weird because we have some decks that can stride, we have some decks that work great with or without it, and then we have this other set of clans that just don't have, they may not have as much stride support as others out there. But see, the meta is really weird right now. The number one factor in the meta game right now, in my opinion, is the rush. There's a lot of decks that just can't withstand a rush. And by that I mean of early game full-out assault, that like the Royal Paladins with can produce, or Aquaforce will soon be able to, or even Great Nature. These clans that can just produce a field, you know, very quickly with big numbers, and it's hard for the opponent to deal with. So the meta right now in this stage is just weird. It's not necessarily good or bad for the game. It's just something we have to deal with. So I decided to make a top 5 list of my top 5 decks that I would consider underdog decks that can still be good, and some of these decks might surprise you, but I'll explain my choices on every one of them. So for the first one I want to talk about is Brawlers. Brawlers, in my opinion, are a huge underdog deck right now, and you can build this deck for under $100 easy. The reason I say this deck is an underdog deck is most decks now have to have a full board presence. You look at the X, you look at Sing Saver variants, you look at Extreme Battlers, just those 3, they have to have a field presence to back up their huge center columns, or else they just really don't carry as much of a threat. If you can go into your Legion with Big Bang Knuckle Buster and start wiping out 3 of their rear guards, or even 4 rear guards, at a time, it can really be devastating for them, and they can't recover from it, because then they have to refill the field, and that includes you dropping a huge number of cards out of your hand, and that's just not easy for the player to do. So Brawlers, in my opinion, you could mix them with just the basic Cray Elemental strides out there right now. You have your Harmonix Messiahs, you have Atmos, you're soon going to have Blizza, and plus Brawlers get Big Bang Knuckle Turbo, I think he's called. So, I mean, Brawlers aren't going to go away. I think this is a good deck if you're out there looking for a good budget deck that is good and carries a very good quality. And being able to board wipe 3 units, or even 4, is pretty awesome. And to combine it with the grade 2s and 1s that Brawlers have that gain power when multiple units are destroyed. So, something to think about. Number 2 is Bluish Flames. Now, I did a deck profile on this for you guys, and that's because I really think the Bluish Flames are a huge underdog and can be extremely good right now because they produce a rush. As for the G deck, you can just put your Harmonix and your Atmoses and things like that in there. Now, the reason this deck is so good is because it's real easy to get your opponent to 3 damage, and if they don't have enough to guard that glare that could be swinging for 25 plus with a crit and a glory skill, even in the early stage of the game, they might have to risk and just let you go and hope and pray you don't pull a crit. And if you do, then you automatically win. So I think Bluish Flames are a huge underdog that you need to not take lightly. So if you're out there playing Bluish Flames, and people are underestimating you, that's what you want, because they're more likely to not take you serious. And the Bluish Flame deck, in my opinion, is probably one of you could make a case that it's probably number 1 or 2 on this list, because these are in no particular order. But Bluish Flames, guys, if you still have your Bluish Flame deck, do not get rid of it. They're still going to be extremely good. So, love the Bluish Flames. Number 3, your Dauntless decks. Now, Dauntless decks, I did a deck profile on my Dominate Dauntless deck, combining it with the new support from set 1. And I honestly think that deck is very good because it can wipe out a lot of cards and gain power at the same time, plus having the ability to restand. So, simply put, to not go into great detail, 2 twin drives, blowing up units, and gaining power. That right there, if you can spring it on someone at the right moment, it can cripple their strategy. And set 2 brings us a lot of decks that depend on a field in order to fully take advantage of their skills. So this deck, and pretty much any Kagero deck that you can build that can do this, is going to be good for the next couple months. So something to think about. Number 4 is it might be a little bit of a surprise to you, and that's Gear Chronicle. Now, Gear Chronicle has a lot of stride support, so you might be saying, well, you said a lot of decks on this list may not have a lot of stride support. Gear Chronicle has quite a bit. They have Chronos Command, they have Ragnarok, those are 2 very good G units, and you're right, they are. But Gear Chronicle is still really not... I don't think the clan is being taken seriously. Now, not to say that I'm now changing my mind and saying it's tier 1. I still don't believe it's tier 1 status, but it has access to an ability that is similar to what Kagero has, which instead of retiring a unit, it rewinds it and shoves it on the bottom of the deck. And this can be crippling to a strategy, especially with all the new clans that are coming out that require a field. Your Neo-Nectars, your Aqua Force, your Great Nature, these clans require a board presence in order to have access to their best skills. And if you can spring this on them, it really hurts them, because then they have to dig for that card again. And obviously, since you're putting it at the bottom of their deck, they have to find a way to somehow shuffle their deck, so they might be able to draw into it again, or another copy of that card. So, Gear Chronicle, in my opinion, is a huge underdog deck, and if you're playing Gear Chronicle, don't feel the need to drop it and build something else. Stick with it. Like I've said before, Gear Chronicle is, since it's a protagonist clan, it's going to do nothing but get more support and just get more stupid as we go. And for the last deck that I want to talk about is Blaster Joker. Now, Blaster Joker is my number 1 on this list. Now, hear me out. When Blaster Joker came out in set 17, it was nowhere near top tier, in my opinion. That's because things like Perditions and Cat Raisers were just the cat's meow. It was just, that was the top 2 decks out there, in my opinion. But Blaster Joker now, he's in an interesting spot to where he's almost considered the anti-meta deck of the format. Here's why. There's 2 main Legion decks running around right now that are considered tier 1, or top tier, and that is your Dragonic Overlord, the Cross decks, and your Sing Saber variants. And he can cripple both of those decks real easily, because if you can take away a Royal Paladin player's field, they're not so scary anymore. Kagero can work around a limited field, but it's not as threatening. Kagero can obviously work off more limited space than Royal Paladin can, but it still hurts the field. Now, at the same time, you're like, well, what if I'm not playing against something that doesn't play Legion? That's fine, guys. If you take Blaster Joker and you pair it against the new Neo-Nectar deck that will soon be here, the new Aqua Force deck that'll be here, the new Great Nature deck that will soon be here, even the Narukami, it hurts them. Because the new Aquaforce deck, in order to get Lambros' skill, you must have 4 attacks. If you can shut off one of their columns, you shut off their ultimate boss monster in Lambros. If you can shut off one of the Great Nature columns, or even 2 of them, they can't have access to Magmar. And being able to get those restanding Grade 2 Vanguards that'll be in the 20s with a glory skill of their own. I mean, that alone can cripple them. The Neo-Nectar clan, they've always struggled against Link Joker because in order for Neo-Nectar to be good, they have to have access to a full board. So if you can just lock 2 or 3 units, that right there kills them. You know, so it's just something to think about. Blaster Joker may not have been a tier 1 deck, you know, and probably maybe never will be. But in my opinion, if you're looking for anti-meta deck, you can't really go wrong with Blaster Joker. I've tweaked my Blaster Joker deck a little bit, and I think you could technically put your Harmonix Messiahs and your Atmoses and things like that in there, but it really doesn't need it. I'd still play them just for the lulz, but Blaster Joker, in my opinion, is the #1 anti-meta deck out there, just because of the lock and being able to shut down your opponent's board and hurt them. Now, the reason I would go with Blaster Joker and not something else is that way if you do run into the Cross or Sing Saber or Bluish Flames, even if you happen to run into another Underdog deck or even someone out there who's running some sort of Rogue Legion variant, you have the ability to bust up their Legion because that right there can cripple their strategy. So anyway, guys, that is my top 5 Underdog decks at the moment. Brawlers, Brawlers, Bluish Flames, your Dauntless decks, your Gear Chronicle, and your Blaster Joker. Those are the top 5 decks that are considered Underdog. Blaster Joker being #1. You know, guys, and to be real honest, I was excited for Blaster Joker, but after I got the chance to build the deck and play around with it a little bit, I almost about sold my Blaster Joker deck. But I'm glad I didn't, you know, because now that I've had a chance to step back and look at it and look at what's coming, it's going to be a very good anti-meta option. So if you are looking for a good anti-meta deck, you know, Blaster Joker would be my #1 suggestion to you. So anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this list? Do you think there's a deck that I left out there that should be on this list? Is there a deck on this list that you think that shouldn't be on this list? And give me your feedback. What, in your opinion, what are the top 5 decks out there right now that you can think are considered Underdog decks? So thank you very much for watching, guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up this video for me, and I'll see you next time.